Go check out Skywatch TV, guys. Right? This is on my like my other videos. Dr. YouTube Tucker, subscribe to my channel, guys. What's going on? But this video's on the slaughtering of Christians in the Middle East, guys.
Before it gets better, it is our honor to welcome Lieutenant Colonel Bob McGinnis to Skywatch TV. Bob,
Thank you very much.
thank you for joining us. The Christian communities of Syria, Iraq, the Assyrian Christians, Chaldean Christians, some of those communities have been faithful to the Lord Jesus Christ for almost 1,900 years. And they've been destroyed, demolished. Before Saddam Hussein was taken down, there was estimated 1.4 million Christians in Iraq. Now the number is about 250,000. What is happening over there? How did this happen?
Yeah, well, they're not only decimated in terms of the population, but the radicals like the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, or al-Sham as it's often called, have gone in and destroyed ancient artifacts, ancient churches just weeks ago. They destroyed a church that had been there from the very first caliph up to the present time, 1,500 years.
Yeah.
Radical stuff that they're doing. They're trying to wipe away every trace of Christianity in that entire region, and if they are successful, not only in Syria and Iraq, they're going to do it to the rest of the Middle East, and they'd love to come here as well.
That is a topic. We'll get into that here in just a couple of minutes. I'm just puzzled by this, and I'd like your insight. Why did it take almost 10 years for the major media outlets in the West to pay attention to this?
Well, to a large degree, I would argue the political masters of the United States, to a certain degree started with President Bush, but certainly during President Obama's term, he said, no, these are people that hijacked Islam. These are people that are an extremist group that have nothing to do with what's going on. He called them the JV team. We're going to go in there, we're going to decimate them with a couple of bombs, and we're going to hire some ex-Syrian rebels, and they're going to destroy them. Well, this failed, totally failed. Here recently, the Inspector General of the Pentagon, started to look at the whole issue of, have we purposely underestimated the seriousness of this threat? And it would appear as if politically the intelligence community was ordered to cut back and to paint it with a rose-colored paintbrush and make it appear as if we're doing better than we are. We're doing poorly, and this is like a cancer. It's metastasizing across the entire region. It's even infecting Central Asia as well as North Africa, and of course it's having an impact here at home because of the people we saw in Chattanooga, because of the radicals that are emerging from our own communities. They see the success of these radicals, and they're saying, that's something I want to be part of, and especially if they're a devout Muslim. They believe in the caliphate, and they believe in the order of the caliph, and if they follow those orders, they're going to get something in the hereafter.
Something is different about the Islamic State, because there have been radical Islamic groups in the Middle East for decades. The Islamic State appears to be something new. They declared the caliphate a year ago, June. They don't appear to be interested in any kind of negotiation, collaboration, cooperation. They've even gone so far as to start attacking Hamas in the Gaza Strip because they're not radical enough. What is it that makes the Islamic State so dangerous? What's different about these guys?
Well, first of all, the leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, is a Salafist. He's the most conservative of the Islamic order. He believes in returning the world to the 7th century and to emulate the Prophet Muhammad. And they're going to take everything that they see in the Sirah, in the Hadiths, and in the Quran, and they're going to apply it to the modern world. Anybody that objects to them, a kafir, an unbeliever, they'll use what they call the takfir, the takfiri theory, and that is they destroy anybody that doesn't believe as they do. And that theology, that worldview, is so radically different from what we've dealt with elsewhere in the region. And it's beginning to affect not only that region, but elsewhere. And that's the real danger, I think, to the West. The West has totally underestimated this. And even the deputy commander of the U.S. Special Forces Command said, look, we don't understand this ideology, purposely because the political leaders in the Pentagon and at the National Security Council have turned a blind eye to this, and they said, you will not discuss what this ideology is because it's center of mass Islam. It's true Islam.
In other words, they've not hijacked Islam. They're in their mind, they're going back and actually practicing it the way Muhammad wanted it.
They're the most faithful. They're doing what Muhammad did in Medina and Mecca, back in the 7th century. That's what al-Baghdadi has said from the very beginning when he took over in 2010. He said, we're going to take back and establish a caliphate, and we're going to take back the world in the name of Muhammad. What he did, he set the example, and we're going to emulate that.
Let me jump in here and ask you a question, Colonel McGinnis. The subtitle of your book, Will the Extermination of Christians Get Worse Before It Gets Better? And I'd like to know, what is your opinion about that rhetorical question, but as well, if it is going to get worse, is it, and this is touchy here, but is it partly because of our own administrative policies regarding what Islam is, who the Muslims are, what the danger is? And then I want to ask you about this whole Iran deal, and is it connected?
Well, yes, Tom, I think it will get worse because in place, this administration, President Obama and his people, have established a policy. If you just go across, look what we did in Egypt. Egypt was turned over to the Muslim Brotherhood, which are basically Salafists, and they tried to exterminate a lot of Coptic Christians. Now, President al-Sisi, who was taken back over, has pushed back somewhat. But you have chaos in the Sinai. You have chaos in Cairo. That country.
They're killing Christians, guys. And you're sitting and watching TV.
Next door is Libya. Libya is a failed state. We can't do anything there. Of course, President Obama was directly involved in starting the campaign to bomb Libya, to get rid of Omar Gaddafi. And unfortunately, that country today, years later, is worse off than it's ever been. It was somewhat cooperating with us back before we went in there. Then you look at Syria. Our Secretary of State, who was a senator, Kerry at the time, went in there right after the Obama administration took over, and he said, well, we can work with this guy Assad. Well, it didn't work out all that well because we held back, just like Hillary Clinton held back when she took over as Secretary of State. They held back, and that became to metastasize. The Islamist group grew up, and they started to push back. And as a result, you ended up in a civil war that has now cost hundreds of thousands of lives and run most Christians out of that region, to include those that aren't strict Islamists like ISIS. Turkey is ruled by Erdogan. Erdogan is an Islamist. He won't allow Christians to even cross into his country. Look at Iraq. Iraq was, we did a pretty good job in 7 and 8 and 9, through the surge that Dave Petraeus led. But unfortunately, when we left in December of 11 by choice, because Obama failed to negotiate a proper status of forces agreement, that we left. And that army went back to the old corrupt ways, and I've been to Iraq a number of times. They went to the old corrupt ways. They decimated the will to fight, and we saw what happened in June of 14, chased them all out of ISIS chased all the Iraqi forces out of Mosul. They chased them out of Ramadi. They chased them out of Fallujah. They're beckoning on the doorstep of Baghdad. You can go across the entire region. It is a cataclysmic failure across the entire region, to include Central Asia and North Africa. The Obama administration I point a finger clearly at them, and I think most people that have studied this, and I've been working on this issue for almost 50 years, and my first published article was in August of '73 on what would happen in that region geopolitically.
All right, guys, I'm going to cut it here, but yeah. They're killing Christians, guys.
Pretty sad things.